All right, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. Could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Molly, if you could help me with the roll call, please.
Alderperson Henry. Here. Alderperson Barron.
Here.
Alderperson Valdy.
Here.
Alderperson Dean.
Here.
Alderperson Grimmer.
Here.
Alderperson Casson.
Here.
Alderperson Eicher.
Here.
Mayor Atwell.
Present.
Administrator Hafner.
Here.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, we are going to go on to item number 4, special order of business. We have 4 resolutions tonight. So I will be reading through the first 3, and then Tom Hafner will be doing the 4th one. So the first resolution is number 2022-07, resolution extending appreciation to District 6 Alderperson Phil Kaysen. Whereas Phil has served the City of Delafield as District 6 Alderperson from 2020 to 2022, and whereas through such public service he has contributed to the well-being of the city, and whereas he has been generous with his time and energy in his dedication to the City of Delafield and its constituents, and whereas he has served on the Lake Welfare Committee, Police Commission, and is an alternate on the Zoning Board of Appeals. And whereas the Common Council desires to make a public declaration of appreciation for Phil Kaysen's contributions to the city. Now, therefore, it be resolved that a vote of appreciation and thanks be extended to Phil for his dedicated service to the City of Delafield.
Move to approve Resolution 2022-07.
Second.
Who are we giving the second to?
I'm going to go with Valdy.
Valdy? Okay. All righty. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Thank you. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, we'll go on to 4B. Resolution number 2022-08, resolution extending appreciation to District 2 Alderperson Jim Barron. Whereas Jim Barron has served the City of Delafield as District 2 Alderperson from 1987 to 1989, and more recently from 2012 to 2022. And whereas Jim has served the City of Delafield as mayor from 1989 to 1994, and whereas through such public service he has contributed to the well-being of the city, and whereas he has been generous with his time and energy in his dedication to the City of Delafield and its constituents, and whereas he has served on the Planning Commission, Public Works Committee, Park and Recs Commission, and Promotion and Tourism. And whereas the Common Council desires to make a public declaration of appreciation for Jim's contributions to the city. Now therefore it be resolved that a vote of appreciation and thanks be extended to Jim Barron for his dedicated service to the City of Delafield.
Move to approve Resolution 2022-08.
Second.
Jackie. I think it was Jackie. I'm going with Jackie. She's quick. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions passes. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
You have quite a few years there. Okay, we'll move on to 4C. Resolution number 2022-09, resolution in memoriam and honoring former Alderperson Al Johnson. Whereas Al Johnson, affectionately known as Al the Plumber, recently passed on March 15, 2022, and whereas Al Johnson is widely recognized as an important and integral member of the City of Delafield community, and whereas Al Johnson served as a City of Delafield alderman for 18 years and also served as a member of the Board of Appeals, Chambers of Commerce, the Legion Auxiliary, and was a proud past president and charter member of the Delafield Summit Lions Club. Whereas through such public service, Al Johnson has contributed to the well-being of the City of Delafield. Whereas he has been generous with his time and energy and dedication to the City of Delafield and its constituents. And whereas the Common Council desires to make a public declaration in memoriam and honoring Al Johnson's contributions to the City of Delafield. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the City of Delafield mourn the death of Al Johnson but honor him and celebrate his significant public service contributions. And be it further resolved that the City of Delafield extends its sincerest condolences to the family and friends of Al Johnson.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022-09.
Second.
Danielle got
I'll
the
second,
second.
yep.
Okay, great. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Thank you very much. We'll turn it over to you, Tom.
Yeah, so thank you. So, yeah, Mike O'Brien did let us know that he will be retiring. I've had the great pleasure of working with Mike for about half of his career, since 2003. But he has been the consummate professional, and his dedication and reliability to the City of Delafield is really unmatched. And Mike, it's been a pleasure working with you. And with that, I will read resolution number 2022-10, a resolution extending appreciation to Public Works Foreman Mike O'Brien for his many years of dedicated public service and wishing him a long and joyful retirement. Whereas Mike O'Brien has worked for the City of Delafield Public Works Department for 37 years from 1985 to 2022. And whereas Mike O'Brien has worked for the City of Delafield Fire Department for 28 years from 1980 to 2008, serving as a firefighter, emergency medical technician, lieutenant, and captain. And whereas in 1994, Mike O'Brien became the City of Delafield's first state of Wisconsin certified drinking water operator with groundwater and distribution certifications. And whereas Mike O'Brien has been a highly valuable, dedicated, reliable public service employee throughout his career with the City of Delafield and has contributed significantly to the well-being of the city. And whereas Mike O'Brien will be retiring from the City of Delafield effective June 8th, 2022, with his last day of work being May 3rd, 2022. Whereas the Common Council desires to make a public declaration of appreciation for Mike O'Brien's contributions to the City of Delafield, now therefore be it resolved that a vote of appreciation and thanks be extended to Mike O'Brien for his many years of dedicated public service to the City of Delafield, and be it further resolved that the City of Delafield extends its best wishes to Mike O'Brien for a long and joyful retirement.
I'll so move.
I'll second.
Okay, two new ones, Jim and Tim. Alrighty, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
I just want to quickly follow that up with, we do have a small token of appreciation for Mike. Last piece, just recognizing his many contributions to the city. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, Mike, can you stay up here? We have the chief that would like to come up with a presentation as well.
So as Administrator Hafner mentioned, Mike O'Brien also worked for the City of Delafield Fire Department for 28 years and serving every rank within the organization all the way up through captain. On one of my first days on the job, I believe Mike O'Brien was there and Paul Zellner was there to take me into one of our first training grounds that I was in. So, Mike, it's an honor and a privilege to present you with a challenge coin on behalf of Lake Country Fire Rescue. So, challenge coins in the fire service are a token of appreciation for service and dedication. They also serve as medals of valor for heroic efforts and everything under the sun.
Alrighty, we will move on to number 5, approval of minutes of March 21st, 2022, Common Council.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Who had the Bremer and Iker?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay, number 6, City of Delafield citizens' comments. Any City of Delafield citizens, come on up. I saw you first. Right there. And if you could just give us your name and address.
Okay.
And try to speak into the mic so the people in TV land can hear you.
Okay. My name is Heidi Harder. I'm from 2150 Old Lantern Circle in Delafield. And I just wanted to share something that I wrote to the Waukesha Freeman. A significant deterrent to a high-quality experience for businesses, pedestrians, and visitors to downtown Delafield is the tremendous number of dump trucks and cement mixers barreling down Highway C to and from Okachi Ready Mix and the Wolf Paving asphalt plant. These trucks create horrendous noise and pollution as they grind and squeal past shops and restaurants 8 to 9 months of the year. Not today, but trying to support local Delafield restaurants and enjoy a meal outside on a beautiful summer day is a noisy endeavor when truck after truck passes by. Highway C through downtown Delafield is narrow, and crosswalks have decorative brick walkways to create a hometown ambiance. Truck traffic has significantly contributed to the erosion of this brick detailing. In addition, Lapham Peak State Park, one of the crown jewels of Waukesha County, is also adversely affected by this heavy truck traffic. The trucks, usually traveling at a high rate of speed, make it difficult and dangerous to cross Highway C to access each side of the park. In my opinion, a traffic study needs to be done to assess just how many trucks travel down Highway C and through downtown Delafield. This information could be used to apply for example, a rustic road designation for Highway C, for example, between Highway 18 to Moose Lake, or apply for some other means of legal truck traffic restriction. Failing that, I would ask the City of Delafield to appeal to both Okachi Ready Mix and the Wolf Paving asphalt plant to be better neighbors and reroute their truck traffic over to Highway 83 for their travel needs. That road is built and designed to handle this type of truck traffic. My comments, I acknowledge that Highway C is a county road. And I also understand that if you approach these businesses, their comment would probably be time is money, and to reroute their trucks over to Highway 83 would add 5 or 10 minutes to their trip. I think this truck traffic issue is increasing along with downtown Delafield restaurants trying to have outdoor seating. We have at least 4 restaurants within one of the 3 stop signs that has outdoor seating, and we're trying to get people to enjoy our downtown area, but the massive number of trucks, especially Monday through Friday, traveling down Highway C really is a deterrent to people spending time outdoors at these restaurants. I'm not sure really what can be done. I'd just like the issue to be discussed. Perhaps we can figure out something to approach the Waukesha County Common Council to address this issue in some way or form, or at least make them aware that this is a problem for our city, and that's what I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, is that?
Yeah, it's
you
a
don't
one-way.
discuss-
It's a one-way thing, no
Okay,
discussion.
thank you.
Thank you.
But thank you for coming. All right, I saw 2 other hands. Jackie, come on up.
Good evening. Mayor Kent, welcome to your 3rd term. You won. But I'm a member of the loyal opposition, as you
please
likely
get-
know. Oh, my name, Jackie
Name
Leiden.
and address, please.
1614 West Shore Drive, Delafield, Wisconsin. Yeah, I'm a little more exercised than usual tonight, but I'll get to District 6 in a minute. I just want to say that many of us here are members of an engaged and caring opposition. About 45%, Mayor Kent, didn't vote for you and voted for Alderman Dean. The reason that I think some of us did is because we disagree with the transparency that is exhibited here very often. We're worried and we're wary of that sort of thing. Many of the policies here seem rushed and are voted on the same night, and often there's a very divisive feeling in the town. And I do hope that the Common Council will think as we go forward into this next term here about what it means to be in the loyal opposition and to really take the job of being a civic watchdog seriously. It means that as Delafield grows, and it's going to, scrutiny for its practices also has to grow. And a mayor of this community is supposed to represent all citizens, which is one of the things that I liked about Wayne Dean's campaign. I've never felt that the present administration learns from its mistakes. That's another reason that I voted for Alderman Dean. And while I challenge you to represent all of us, I do think it's up to us citizens to make sure that it is your practice. I also just want to say that I think there was a partisan element in this election that just didn't belong here, or a whisper campaign that someone is conservative or liberal really has no place, or even basis in fact. So we, the 45%, have to, I think, keep an eye on things. I was looking at the rights and responsibilities of U.S. citizens today on the government's website. Some are familiar: freedom to express yourself, which I am doing right now and appreciate; freedom to worship as you wish, which we're all familiar with; freedom, the right to a prompt and fair trial by jury. But then this fourth one listed really stopped me: the right to vote in elections for public officials. I had never felt that resound so much before, because what on earth happened in District 6? I mean, there's a taint over the outcome of that election. I have never questioned whether or not my vote counted, but 363 votes, which we know is the final conclusion and not 364, is not divisible by 2. Why would the district boundaries change? It makes sense that the suspect ballot came from the boundary area. And is this not in a state where partisans are doing all they can to cast doubt on the election results back in the last presidential election? It seems to me we know there's an error here. And while I respect Alderman Kaysen's decision to not contest this further and not to run, I have to say I'm really disappointed, because government by hat trick or coin toss or whatever it was, and government by error is really not what I have in mind when I cast my vote as a citizen in this town. So I wonder what it will be like for those of us who didn't vote for the office holder in the 6th District and how independent he will be. We will find out. So those of us who have voted may feel that the case is closed, the election is over, but I would call on my fellow citizens in the loyal and engaged opposition to work harder than ever, to be present at these meetings, to show up, to be outspoken, to exercise our democratic rights, to ensure fairness, transparency, to protect the environment, fair taxes, and to protect a city we very much love. Thanks for hearing me out.
All righty, who'd like to be next? Come on up. Yeah.
You didn't say my name. I didn't know if you Susie Thompson, 700 Milwaukee Street. I'm back. A lot of you haven't seen much of me in the last 6 months or so. I did have hamstring surgery and half a dozen dental surgeries, which were not fun. But the reason I'm up here tonight is something that Phil Casson has coming up on the meeting tonight on 11D about trucks, about dumpsters picking up during the middle of the night. We have been woken up as early as 2:30 in the morning, and regularly up until 5 or 5:30 in the morning that the trucks come and pick up the dumpsters. If any of you have ever been outside walking your dog early or just going for an early morning walk, there are anywhere from 5 to 7 very loud crashes made when they do that. When they pick them up, they're hitting the dumpster and then loading it. That's the first noise. The second one is to dump it. And then they dump it and knock it because things get stuck inside. And then when they put it down, it's very quiet. They put it down and they bang it and the lid hits. So that goes on throughout the city. And if you have that going on for 45 minutes to an hour and a half straight in the middle of the night, I don't know about the rest of you, I have a hard time sleeping through that much loud and continual banging noise. So we appreciate seeing that that is being addressed tonight, and I hope that this will be something that will be passed when it's brought before the Common Council tonight. It is something that's been going on. I have called two of the garbage companies myself and talked to them about it, and the replies are not worth even repeating because they're ridiculous. We know that it can be done in a reasonable early hour that doesn't interfere with business. I'm sure the restaurants are not going to be disturbed having a 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock pickup instead of a middle of the night pickup. So thank you for that. Thank you, Phil, for everything that you've done, and for all of you for what you continue to do. There's a lot of work here. And even though I did not vote for Kent this time around, I know there's a lot being done, and I followed you around a lot for the last 2 years, going to different meetings and committees, and it's a lot of time out of everybody's life and your family's lives. So thank you for everything that all of you do.
Great, thank you. All right, any other comments? Any other comments? Seeing none, citizens' comments are now closed. Okay, nothing on the consent agenda. So I'm going to jump to new business 11A so that we can get to 11B and get our guest out of here tonight. So 11A, discussion and possible action regarding Resolution 2022-11, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Delafield, Wisconsin, amending the 2022 capital budget to account for higher than expected road resurfacing bids. Tom?
Yeah, as laid out in the memo in your packet, I think the last meeting, or possibly the one before, we awarded the street improvement program contract, and due to higher than anticipated bids on that project, what we awarded was used up all the contingency on the project and was still another approximately $4,000 over budget. We talked about that we might be able to make that up with quantities and whatnot, and if not, that we would come back and do a budget amendment to accommodate that. Now the Village of Summit has taken bids for their road program, and a significant portion of their road program is the shared, the cost sharing of Mill Road that the city is looking to accomplish with them. And their project came in significantly over budget, which all projects are coming in significantly over budget throughout different municipalities. But when we looked at how much over budget we were on that one, again, utilizing all of the contingency set aside for the project, we're still another approximately $10,000 over budget. And so when you take a look at actually almost $11,000. So when you take a look at the $11,000 that were over budget on Mill Road and the $4,400 that were over budget on street improvement program, and then if you reestablish the 5% contingency that we typically have for these types of projects, that would put us at a proposed budget amendment of $55,624. We took a look at past projects with SEH. We also took a look at the project design for these projects. Honestly, with the projects we're doing this year, the bike path, Negawicka Road bike path, would probably be the most significant exposure to additional costs, with limited exposure on some of the road resurfacing. And we were comfortable reducing that dollar amount by a little over $11,000. And we're recommending that the council consider a budget amendment of $45,000 to accommodate the two paving projects. And the next item that we'll get to on the agenda is the city's proposed borrowing, and that $45,000 for purposes of putting something in the packet, that has been incorporated into the proposed dollar amount for the borrowing at this point. Any questions on that?
Yeah, question. So the Villages Summit, maybe it's just speculation, but what's their attitude as far as the shared costs of the, and their over budget amount that came in?
They're looking to move forward, and if anything, if they're going to make any adjustments, they're looking at that they would likely eliminate a different road besides Mill Road.
Okay. Well, I can't see it getting any cheaper. I mean, I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment for the $45,000 as proposed.
Second.
Second it.
Grimmer, I think, already got it. Am I correct?
Yes.
Just quiet.
Just as a reminder, as a budget amendment, this does require a 2/3 majority vote, requiring 5 votes to pass.
Is there any discussion?
Well, I'll add too that the Summit Road has been an issue for a long time because of how out of sync we've been with Summit as far as which half gets repaved. People don't understand. People don't necessarily understand the intricacies of how hard it is to coordinate budgets, especially something when someone in an adjacent municipality has a different type of paving that they usually will do. So I think it's very important that we give them a vote of confidence that we appreciate their efforts and move forward with this.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, when we are paving at different times and meeting in the center, it causes that center line to ravel over time, causes water infiltration, and there is significant pothole problems on that road. We do get a lot of complaints, primarily actually from bikers, but a lot of complaints from bikers about the condition of that road and the safety of it for bikers.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay, move to 11B, consideration of resolution authorizing the issuance of sale of not to exceed $2,050,000 general obligation promissory notes, Series 2022A. There you go, beat me to it. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Phil Costin with Ellers. Nice to be back with you tonight. We did provide you with a couple of documents that were in your packet. I think you probably have them on the screen as well. Just to be certain you have it, I brought a hard copy as well in front of you so that we could walk through this together. There's a couple of documents that they really kind of correspond with each other. One is the resolution. The actual resolution is what's called a parameters resolution. And if you recall the last couple times I've been here, it's been a little while since I've been back. We did do a parameters sale at that point. I'll talk about the parameters sale process in a little bit as we go through this. The resolution was prepared by the city's bond attorney, Linda Templin at Hush Blackwell. So that's the prepare of the actual resolution. What I want to go through with you tonight is the pre-sale report, and I'm going to start with the back page if you have that. Tom asked me to bring my crystal ball, and I don't know if mine's as cloudy as everyone else's probably these days. I think what I'm trying to depict here is kind of what's happened over the last year, and you can see very clearly what's happened. Now, if I showed you a 3-year bond chart, it would look pretty good. We'd still be lower than we were 3 years ago. However, all of you probably track what's going on to some extent in the financial markets and with interest rates. And the municipal bond market really does trend with mortgage rates to some extent. So we are seeing a significant jump in rates, and it's really a reflection of really 3 factors in our expertise. One is, what's happening with inflation. The second is Fed policy, where everybody is aware that they've at least positioned themselves for multiple rate increases over the next calendar year. Then the third, quite frankly, is kind of uncertainty. And uncertainty comes in the way of things like wars and such that are occurring. So the combination of all those have really led to a pretty significant spike in interest rates. And I'll tell you what this really means in a little bit, as far as what we would expect to see on this 10-year note. So that's the starting kind of volley of kind of what we're seeing in the market. As Administrator Hafner indicated, we did adjust our pre-sale report in the resolution on Friday to reflect the road project change. So we had a separate resolution that was here a couple of days before that. So what you have in front of you does reflect the road project. So for those that haven't been through this process on a regular basis, we will take the city through what's called a competitive sale process. And that's what we've done And that's what we do for most of the municipalities that we work with, especially highly rated municipalities like the city of Delafield. So what that means is we will, if you give us authorization tonight, proceed with preparing what's called an offering document. It's a prospectus on the city. We then take that information along with an updated rating report from Moody's Investor Service. You're currently rated AA2, and we'll send that out to prospective bidders, not only local, state, but national bidders. And then on date certain, we will take bids from them. And it's a blind bid, and the winning bid will be the low bid, and we'll bring that compiled information back to the city. It's the same process I think you would use if you're putting a roof on City Hall or going to be paving streets. We want to make sure that you're getting the best deal for the city and for the taxpayers. So that's the process. To get there, tonight is the first step to authorize and to proceed with this. We'll then be preparing that offering document and again holding the rating call with Moody's Investor Service as part of the process. So we have laid out in your packet, this pre-seller packet, all of that information that goes into it. I talked about the parameter sale. And we've done parameter sales the last number of times for a couple of reasons. So parameters, what it means is that we're going to hold the sale on a separate night than your regular scheduled city council meeting. And we do that for a couple of reasons. One, at this time of year, every municipality meets on Mondays and Tuesdays, and they're all borrowing money. It's spring, so everybody's getting ready for capital expenditures. So you're not alone in this. We had 3 bond sales today. I'm setting 2 sales tomorrow. It's just what it is. And everyone meets on Mondays and Tuesdays. And that's not just in Wisconsin. If you look at the bond buyer, which I look at, and you look at Mondays and Tuesdays, they have lists of different notes and bonds that are being issued nationally and locally. And they all compete against each other for the same bidders for the most part on Mondays and Tuesdays. So we tend to try to push this time of the year into different days like Wednesdays and Thursdays when you just don't have as much competition. We think that leads to better bids for the city. And so that's what we're proposing, to be on an off night. Second, the reason we do parameter sale is it gives us flexibility. We don't have to meet on a specific night of the city council, but rather we'll have a specific date we pick, but we can move that date very easily. We've had a lot of turmoil in the financial markets over the years, and we certainly, if something came up, could pull the sale and just say, we're going to wait a day or two, a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and we're going to kind of let the market settle down and then come back into the market. It gives us that flexibility to make that call, working directly with city staff during that process, so that we're not randomly making that call, but rather checking with city staff to make sure that they're in agreement that we're going to pull a sale for any particular reason. So those are the primary reasons that we do a parameter sale: flexibility and hopefully more bidders coming into the deal, and you're not competing against as many different issuers on a specific date. In this document, we have kind of laid out the timeline on page number 5 of the document. Again, the process that we're proposing it now is, again, authorization tonight, followed by what will be the rating call the week of May 2nd. I think we've scheduled that now. Distributing the official statement early May, with the award sale to occur right now on May 19th, unless we have to move that date for any specific reason. And then a close on June 2nd, meaning that's when the funds will be actually wired to the city, and you have the funds at that time. In the packet also, we have prepared a couple of documents that we try to boil this down to the average taxpayer understanding what the impact is of undertaking capital borrowing. What's the actual levy impact of doing so? Table 3 is the actual projects to be financed. As Tom indicated, we're at $2,050,000. On page 4 is where you are today if you take on no additional debt. This is a base case. And if you look at the third column from the right, you can see where the tax rate per thousand for the debt levy number is. So in 2022, you levied $1,759,000. That was your levy in 2022 for debt service. okay? That was $1 per thousand, essentially is what that equates to. On a home valued at $350,000, that's $350. If you do nothing with the upcoming capital expenditures, you don't borrow any dollars, that's going to go to $1 because you are scheduled next year to levy $1,819,000. So it's going to go up a little bit next year before it starts to drop off as debt service is paid off. That's your base case. That's where you are today before you issue any additional debt. If you go to table 4, this is the schedule of the payments that we have laid out. It's a 10-year note, which is customarily what the city has undertaken, a 10-year note for your normal capital, where you've stretched that longer into a bond 10, 15, 20 years, is when did projects like this. This building and the library and DPW building where you have a longer asset life. We did a longer term issue. But your normal, regular, customary, traditional road, parks, those kind of projects, you have financed over 10 years. That's an aggressive payback for those type of projects. And the nice thing about notes is the money can be moved between projects. So if one street project comes in high, one comes in low, the monies can be moved between those. Once you issue bonds, anything over 10 years, you are then in silos. The money borrowed for streets can be for streets only, parks can only be for parks, etc. This gives you flexibility in how you are able to spend the funds. On exhibit table 5 brings in to that base case this financing. All right, so we do show a little bit of an increase as a result of the new issue coming in 2023. We expect that $1 to go to $1.07, if I can trust my eyesight, and then it starts dropping back off to $1.04, $1.95, etc. So there's a little bit of a bump as a result of the projects that are being undertaken. The last table 6 is really an important table when it comes to talking to the rating agencies. They're going to look at a number of factors. Where Delafield does extremely well, obviously, is in the demographic look at the community, wealth indices, value per property, those kind of things. You do extremely well. If you look at your debt capacity, you're only using 15-16% of your allowed borrowing capacity. You'll do very well in that fundamental. Where you struggle also a little bit is just size of the community, overall tax base. Even though you're $1.7 billion in value, you're a highly rated $1.7 billion value community. I work for the city of Oconomowoc. They just got bumped to your level. So if you really think about that's one of the factors, just size, pure size of tax base. You've grown, but you're still $1.7 billion. And then the last is really looking at things like fund balance. What's your rainy day fund? How much funds you have available? That's non-encumbered funds. And you've always been a little bit tight when you look at this at the rating for the community. Not that that's a good or bad thing, but you don't have an excessive amount of fund balance like some communities hold. So anyway, I would expect, looking at all the fundamentals, this is a relatively small issue, that you're going to be affirmed that your AA2 rating would be my guess when it comes to the discussion with Moody's, because there's nothing really triggering any kind of downward pressure at all. And I don't see a AA1 until you get to maybe $3 billion in value or so. It's just, there are thresholds for ratings to be able to get there. So tonight, again, is authorization to allow us to proceed with the parameter sale. The goal here, again, is to hold the sale on May 19th with the understanding that if we have continued turmoil in the market and we see rates really kind of jumping, we may kind of pause for a moment and just kind of let things settle. We have bond sales and note sales every week for municipalities in Wisconsin and Minnesota, so we have a really good pulse on the market. We sold a very similar rated community, Geo Notes, today. That came in at 2.72%. They had 6 bids. And they're AA2, just like the city of Delafield. That was 10-year note. I would expect you're going to be in that 2.70 to 3% range. If rates keep creeping up a little bit, you might bump up to about 3%. But we're not too long ago we were talking ones. So it's really changed dramatically in a relatively short period of time.
Bill, you mentioned excessive fund balances, that some municipalities have them. 2 questions. What would you consider an excessive fund balance? And help me understand why an excessive fund balance would be a negative to a municipality.
Well, I shouldn't say excessive, but there are some communities that hold a fund balance of around 40%. To me, I think it's hard to justify holding that level of fund balance of the taxpayers. So there's that. You have a fund balance policy. You live within your policy. I think your policy is 15%, if I recall, or are you 20?
No, we had been at 25% for a
You're at
long
25,
time, and
yeah.
just a couple of years ago, we
You
changed to
dropped it.
20%.
Down to 20, okay. And 20 is, if you talk to the rating agencies, that's sufficient in their minds. But again, if you're looking at it from a rating agency standpoint and you keep everything else static between 2 communities, one holds a 40% fund balance, the other 20% fund balance, maybe a little higher rating for the community that has a 40% fund balance. The challenge with building a fund balance right now is under levy limits. It's almost impossible to grow a fund balance unless you just, on an annual basis, are budgeting for more than you actually need. I mean, that's how you build a fund balance. So you got to be true in your budgeting process as well. So it's challenging to build a fund balance up. But I think 20 to 25% fund balance is a reasonable amount for a municipality to hold.
So what do you think? So that's the fund balance point. But what do you think the biggest threat to a AA2 rating would be for a community like Delafield?
The biggest threat by far is drawing the fund balance down to a level that Moody's would be uncomfortable with.
Okay.
Well, 100%. That would be the number one issue.
Phil, does that happen at 18 or 19%?
No, that happens when you draw it down to like 10% or so, and you're less than 3 months operating. But operating, that's where you run into some issues. We've had that with a community that just decided they were going to use their fund balance, and they got dropped 2 notches on their rating.
And what does a notch mean as far as cost?
A notch is somewhere around 10 basis points, so it's not that dramatic. It is when you're borrowing large amounts of money, but about 10, 15 basis points for each notch.
Nice to have you summarize it all in a nutshell there, right?
Cloudy crystal ball, yes.
Your crystal balls have been pretty clear in the past decade, at least.
Phil, I'm trying to remember, was that last year or 2 years ago? We were like 0.9%.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion on 11B, resolution 2022 borrowing.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Actually need a roll call vote on this.
Sorry about that. You're
Sorry.
right.
Aye for the roll
All
call.
right, Alderperson Henry,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
Valdy,
Aye.
Dean, Brimmer,
Aye.
Casson,
Aye.
Iker.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Have a good
Awesome.
evening.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Phil.
you. Okay. We'll go back to the regular order, back up to number 8A, licenses, seeing none. B, Planning Commission, Stryker.
All right, just a quick report on our last meeting. We had a couple new businesses go into Village Square, and if you live anywhere near there, you've noticed that there's been a couple vacancies for a long time, and it looks like they're getting filled up. One's a Pilates studio. So when you get sore there, you can go next door, and that's Studio 83 Pilates. When you get sore there, you can go to IR Sauna, an infrared sauna place called Core Glow right next door. So interesting. I've never heard of that before, but new businesses moving into Village Square, which is good. Also, the Delafield Oaks Sportsman's Club, or I should take that out. What is it? Delafield Oaks Club for the indoor shooting range.
Delafield Oaks Range.
Delafield Oaks Range. Okay. is an official name. That was approved, their business plan of operation so I don't have an update on anything after that as far as when they're opening, but just stay tuned. I'm sure they'll be talking about it quite a bit. The other matter of business that's still pending that we'll be discussing again at our next meeting is, and this has to do with the different areas that the Economic Development Committee recommended, and that is the area between Town Bank and the cemetery on the east side of the road on Highway C across from Cushing School. There's a number of residences there. One of them at the end is looking to put in a dental office. I've mentioned this before, but we're looking for a way to make an amenable zoning for all the property owners so that they feel comfortable with a possible way to have that be zoned as a gateway for transitional residences / businesses. And so that's in discussion right now. So anyone interested in that, please come or weigh in, email, whatever, to the Plan Commission or show up. And then also, I understand that there's been a update to the scheduling of the different areas that have been talked about that the Plan Commission's looking at for possible land use updates or at least discussion as far as how to encourage the appropriate kind of development in those areas. So that's online on our website, but I can't emphasize enough for people, as we discussed in our last meeting, to encourage people to sign up for Notify Me and at least check the Plan Commission box so that you get notified of when there's a new Plan Commission agenda. It's a quick scan. You don't have to read all 200 pages. The first 2 pages will do it. You'll see what's on the agenda. If it looks like something near you, you might be interested. So again, look at it's a good tool, and encourage people to use it. So outside of that, we've got a meeting at the end of the month, reach out if you have any questions. That'd be it.
Great, thank you much. All right, Sea Lake Welfare Committee, Phil.
Yes, 2 things. The first one is regarding the dredging that was proposed and that will be happening in the lake. It's going to be a very slow process, just kind of as a heads up for people, the complexity of the issue. Boats will have to watch out all summer long because it'll probably be, I was told at committee, I wouldn't be surprised if it's September. It's going to be the end of the boating season, just that big of a project. So the other thing worth noting is it's that time of year. We've got a lot of Canadian geese that have taken up residency, and as a result, the other thing worth noting was the egg oiling. That's coming up, so if anybody has seen nests for the Canadian geese, please just let the city know. It's one way to try and keep the goose population down in a very humane way, just to try and take care of our parks. That's all.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, D, Park and Rec Commission, Mr. Grimmer.
Park and Rec had a meeting a couple of weeks ago. Just want to bring to the council's attention that the park walk is scheduled for June 4th at 9 a.m. We're starting as usually do at Liberty Park Bridge, and the fishing day for kids is May 21st. That's free fishing for kids at the Fish Hatchery Pond. We've got 35 kids signed up already. May 21st.
You will catch fish too, I know, right? And do they still provide rods and reels for those?
Do it all.
All right,
awesome. That's it. No further report.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to E, Public Works, Mr. Barron.
Public Works, I missed the meeting, but this was the business on road project.
Sounds good. Okay, F, Mr. Eicher, Delahart.
Oh, I've reported on our last Delhart meeting at our last meeting, so we don't have another one for another month.
Okay. Phil, Police Commission, G.
No meeting, no minutes.
Okay. Jackie, Library Board.
Library Board met on April 12th, and there are just a couple of things to share. The library is going to be hosting police officer story time with retiring Captain Bob on Wednesday, May 4th. Families can even tour a squad car. Sounds cool. The library was honored to be nominated for Outstanding Organization of the Year by the Delafield Chamber of Commerce as awarded to a local nonprofit. We're grateful to be a part of such a supportive community of users. The library recently celebrated National Library Week earlier in April. Thank you to everyone who values the library and its role in our community, especially those who helped check out nearly 200,000 items in 2021, which was a 42% increase over our COVID year. The next library board meeting will be Tuesday, May 17th. It's a week later than ordinarily held. It's usually the second Tuesday, and that's just to accommodate a lot of schedules. It'll be here in person, and there will be a Zoom link.
Great, thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, Zoning Board of Appeals, Phil, assume no meeting.
Correct.
Jay, Promotion and Tourism, Mr. Barron again.
No meeting, quorum issues.
Okay. Okay, Lake Country Fire and Rescue Commission, not aware of a meeting. Lake Country Fire and Rescue Board, Mr. Grimmer.
No meeting. Next meeting is Wednesday, 5 o'clock. The town of Delafield Chambers, not the city.
Okay, then M, Deer Management, Ms. Henry.
No meeting next week.
Okay, great. Okay, number 9, unfinished business, follow-up discussion and possible action as requested by Alderperson Henry regarding Municipal Code Section 2-198A involving the City Council conduct of deliberations and the presiding officer speaking, including a second legal opinion on the matter from the new city attorney as requested by Alderperson Dean. Tom, you want to kick us off there?
Yeah, just real quickly, Alderman Dean did ask for that second opinion. That second opinion came back consistent with the first opinion from Attorney Hammis, that it's their interpretation of what's written in the city code currently, that limits the presiding officer's ability to speak while a motion's being made or after a motion's being made, but it doesn't limit his ability to speak prior to a motion being made. But the overarching message that they wanted to send to the council is if you don't like what that says, change it to what you'd like it to say.
No change.
Yeah, that sounds appropriate. Right?
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Danielle, I know you wanted this to come back. Did you have anything specific that you wanted to talk about on it, or?
No, I had wanted to discuss it with the new members. So I guess today wouldn't be that if what I was thinking, but no, I just yeah, my concern would be just hindering the dialogue, like if for information for us. I know we reference the mayor, who usually has more history on some of the topics than we do. So I wouldn't want to slow down the conversation if we had questions during the discussion. So that would be my concern with this. But on the same note, a lot of our discussion happens before the motions are made, so I don't know how much it will affect the flow. So that's my thought.
I'll add, I think it'd be prudent to your point about, I know we'll have 2 new council members tomorrow.
Right.
And there's some training that comes with that. I mean, there's a lot to, you're drinking from a fire hose as far as what do's and don'ts and all that as far as quorums and how we operate. Perhaps we bring it up in like our second meeting in May as a discussion point to clarify how meetings are are done. I mean, to suggest a future agenda item just to clarify the process of how we function as a group in meetings, and how we don't strictly adhere to Robert's rules, but we have that as our, foundation for how meetings are run per our code. And I open it up to see if there's questions. So I'll just propose that as a future agenda item, even though that's a later agenda item today.
Yeah, can you
I will bring it up later, yeah.
thank you.
But,
Readdress that
I
later.
think that might make sense, so that if people who have questions, including ourselves, we can talk about it again.
Sounds good. Any other comments? Otherwise, we will move on. All right. We'll move on to 9B, follow-up discussion and possible action as requested by Alderperson Kaysen regarding the procedure to notification of public hearings. Bill, did you want to kick that off?
Thank you. Yes. First of all, I appreciate everybody's patience in dealing with this topic. I believe since I've only been here the 2 years, I've got the fresh eyes that look at this. Tom and I were talking last week, and we both concurred that local politics is not exciting. I understand that. Most people, there's very few people that actually watch local politics, but at the same time, what we're talking about happening in Delafield in the next 6 months is not just a bicycle path. It's not just one new business coming in. We're talking about a pretty major deal here. We're talking about recommendations to change the zoning for perhaps 15 to 20% of the city. What we're talking about is trying to come up with recommendations, means to encourage the development of 300 to 400 new homes. We're talking about the addition of potentially 15 to 20, 25% of an increase in the population of the city. So that is where my concerns come from. In fact, I was at the recount. Mayor Atwell was talking with the Journal Reporter and said these are more changes than we've seen in a decade, or perhaps a decade, 2 decades. And I would totally agree. And this is a big thing. That's why I'm so concerned about this. I know it's been in the communicator, but not in very specific words. It's been very nondescript. It's written like it's been minimized, and that's a concern of mine as well. In fact, as I was going door to door just talking to people for this last election, a professional person explained to me that he didn't think the city was doing a very good job with communication, and in fact he said even the communicator, it doesn't really have a whole lot of information in it. And if you look at how it is written up, even the web link for the Delafield growth is not highlighted in any way. It's buried in the paragraphs. It's not bold. It's not underlined. It looks like regular text, and it's really hard to see. You'd have to know it's in there. So I'm also wanted to point that out, and that there's no images. There was nothing in there to try and draw attention to what we're looking at doing in the next 2, 3, 4, 6 months, if it takes that long. This is several decades of updating zoning, what we're talking about, and all within the next 6 months. There's a lack of information that's going out, and it's, as far as I can see, for one of 2 reasons. One is that it might be intentional, and that it's just to try and get it through. And I don't think that is the case. I think it's just a lack of seeing it from voters' perspective and trying to see things from their view and impress them with the fact that these are major changes that are coming. They don't know that every district, except for District 6, has something in it. And in fact, my District 6 is right across the street from perhaps one of the largest changes that'll be going on. So I would say even though there's no projects in District 6, they're all affected. Every place in the city is going to be affected. So what it has to come in council to tonight, I don't expect any conclusions tonight, but I was hoping people would take something up. I would challenge the council to stop viewing it from our perspective and look at it from a perspective of voters. We know what it means. You guys particularly, I've had to figure out the last 2 years with COVID. It's been kind of interesting, but I've come to understand what a lot of it means, how to read even the 2 pages of an agenda. There's things that are just buried in there, and a normal person just would look right past it. So we need to look at it from their perspective and try to list things that have clear meaning and more understanding for them. I think we just really need to better inform the citizens of what's coming up, at least for the next 2 to 6 months, because it's just that big. I could be incorrect on this one, but I don't think we've had press releases on the growth plan, have we? Anything going out to the Journal or the Freeman or anything?
Not that I remember. No.
Okay. Because our police very conveniently have released press releases for incidences that have happened here in Delafield. We've had press releases from people running for office right here in Delafield. We've lacked the press releases for this, though. When people have asked me about it, because I've gotten more attention than I would ever want with this whole recount thing, this is a part of my concerns when I tell them what's going on. They're all pretty darn amazed with the plans that we have for the next 6 months. The Journal Freeman told me to keep in touch with them, and that's not my job as an alderman. I think that's the city's job, a collective job, and I think that's what we really need to do, is try and inform the people of the community, because we've seen people leave this meeting in anger, and I just, even though I will not be sitting up here, I don't want to see that. I don't like to cause problems. Sitting up here, I don't like to create a commotion, because it's the city of Delafield, and I don't like that kind of thing happening. So I just want to emphasize, no, I'm not doing this to try and leave any kind of a mark. I want to be clear about that. If anybody thinks that, you don't know where I live, because I live on Highway C where the trucks are going right past. I live on Highway C where there's proposed condos 300 feet outside my front window. So I'm concerned about this. There are people in my district that are concerned about this. So I will be back, because I will be having plenty to say, because I think any citizen that is affected should be informed. So I provided, I didn't count them out, but in this packet, a list of things last time, and I've added a few to that. I didn't just come up with all of these on my own. I'm not brainstorming on all of these, some of them yes, but some of these are things other cities do. The town of Delafield, city of Oconomowoc, the city of Brookfield, and I didn't continue to research, but all of those have public hearings separate from the meeting at which they vote. That was one thing that I was floored by, actually, when I started on the Common Council, is that there's a hearing, there's a vote, no time in between. I think to have a good, solid hearing, it needs to exist on its own. I really appreciate Molly bringing that up last time, saying she'd try to look into that to see if public hearings could be listed separately, at least in the notify me. That is awesome. I think that's a really imperative first step, and hope that's something we can continue to do. There's also media, and it says, according to state law, to city code, that we've got to put things in the newspaper. Newspapers aren't what they used to be. People are looking at their social media. The city's got a Facebook account. I think we post one thing like every 2 months. I think that would be a great place to try and provide better information. I know we've had several people here in this last election advertising on Nextdoor, so that obviously demonstrates the fact that the Nextdoor app exists and that is looked at, and they have an opportunity for the city to become an administrative user, and as a result, just to put out announcements, not to put out more than that, but just to make people aware of what's coming up. I have plenty of other things on the list too, and I guess I don't want to really, you've been very patient so far, so these are citywide changes, and I think we just need to do a better job of communicating. So I'm hoping there's something on this list that is palatable to enough people to at least have the discussion. So I don't know if there's anything on there.
There's a ton of stuff here, pages 15, 16, and 17, and people are fishing around a 325-page e-packet. It can get a little, you can get a little cross-eyed. So if folks want to look at pages 15, I love the way you laid this out, because it's what we're doing now versus suggestions, and I very much appreciate it. I think the thing that leaps out at me, and I've brought it up before, and I think what you said, Phil, is very important to take on board, and that is, we may think we're communicating well. We may understand, that, well, this was in Notify Me or this was in the agenda. And I've been on the outside looking in and not understanding even the procedure for citizens' comments. I think, Kent, you do a wonderful job explaining to people, like, we can't talk back. They appreciate knowing that. Just a little smile, like, sorry, I'd love to have a dialogue, but that's not how, we follow a procedure so that our meetings don't go, till midnight and that sort of thing. But some of your suggestions are just really logical and could be simply implemented. And I think we should maybe take this further as we, we've seen just in the last few weeks, this room has been filled with people who were either in support of or against, doesn't matter, but some of them have been very frustrated with feeling like they didn't know, even though we felt we did communicate. And I've said it before, I will say it again. When I think I've communicated, but everybody in the room is telling me I didn't, I know that I made an error. I did my best, and that's important, but then we have to learn. These are great examples that we can learn. And I do think it might be legal. Everything we do is legal, but is it more, I'm not saying optimal even, but just do a better job of communicating more. And I do find it troubling that we have a public hearing and then immediately nobody shows, we just go into the meeting and make a vote. And that isn't, to me, what a public hearing actually should be, ideally. So maybe we want to make a more ideal set of policies and practices that don't have to change, be big radical changes. The big one that we keep referencing and is the foundational impetus for a lot of the code proposals come from the economic development group, of which I was a member, and I can tell you they were very thoughtful, and the suggestions that were made, from my perspective, I think I supported all of them, or most all of them. They made sense to me. But unless I don't know, we had a link to that site on the city's website, but it's no longer there. Just a simple thing like leaving that link up so people can go and look around, because it talked about the process, and it would just be that simple, like leaving it up longer until all those changes are made. Why not? It doesn't cost anything in terms of effort and time. So yeah, this is a really good stuff. Nice organization there, Bill.
Thanks.
It is nice, Phil, and I can get behind a few of these things. I think one of the issues that you brought up is unfortunate, but this used to be a role filled by media, even small town papers. Our small town paper is not a small town paper anymore. When the paper's asking you to communicate with them about things that are happening in the city, there was a time. I was still alive back then when everybody got the paper every morning, and you leaf through it, and it was fairly robust in what they provided, and that's just not the case anymore. And so I think the city does a lot already to communicate, but I think some of these changes could be added to add further transparency and communicate with the public more.
I'll just add, thanks for the reminder, Jackie. I know, Tim, you mentioned the website before people can go to. It's actually not, just to reiterate, it's currently not on the city's website.
No, it's not there.
Anyway,
No.
there's not even a link
No.
for this on the city's website.
To what?
To the whole Delafield
Economic
growth.
Development Council. It has a separate website, but we don't link to it.
Oh, yeah. No, I'd agree that, since I asked why, I'll agree that it's harder to find than it should be right now.
Yeah.
I had to, when I was talking with someone the other week, I went to go into the committee's minutes to find the plan. And
That's the only place
that's
in small print.
But I'll just take a second here to say that this is what's happening with these individual pieces of land. A couple of them have been, hey, with or without a recommendation from the committee, people were eyeing up a couple of pieces of land saying, I'm developing this, what do you think? And So that just moved things around a little bit as far as, well, then, we were considering that because there's an application to develop this piece of property completely outside of the committee. But things like St. John's and things like right here north of us or south of us across from Cushing School, these are purposely going extremely slowly, and where there hasn't been, there was some people that were like, I just found out about this, like, this isn't fair. Well, it's been months now. So now there's no claim that some people haven't found out about it. There's been no action on the Plan Commission to move ahead with it because of that initial feedback. And there's been a big emphasis on, I think people's eyes are opening a little bit more on the public side, but they've always been open on the Plan Commission side as far as reaching out for feedback and looking for it, and moving slowly when we feel like somebody's not. Well, our Plan Commission's as much of a primary role of the Plan Commission, in my opinion, is to defend people's property values as they saw them, and the use of the property as they saw them when they purchased the land, and how it meets with the terms of the city's master plan. There's all sorts of different names for it, the comprehensive land use, all the other things. But the role of the Plan Commission is to protect the integrity of the property values of the city, and to follow the zoning according to how it is, and if should it be changed, make intelligent decisions based on the feedback and the proposed changes that come forward. And it's happening. I have a hard time trying to figure out how to legislate community activity. It's really difficult. I won't get into too much detail. A recent, like community group informational meeting met with some protests that somebody wanted to be ceased because it didn't fit their schedule. You can't have this meeting because I can't make it. It was like, well, it seemed, or it didn't fit their concept of what that meeting should be, and it turned into a civics lesson meeting about process and how and when people need to know and keep their eyes open to get involved. And as an alderperson, it's not necessarily your job to like reach out and be the press release arm of the city administration. But when there's a development on one of these pieces of properties in your district, it is your job to go reach out and find a champion to get the word out. And that's slowly happening with these different areas. And
so would you concede, though, that this is a big change that the economic group has put forward, and with a timeline that we're looking at doing, whether there's developers in line or not, that it's a big deal and it actually hasn't been in the news, and somebody will only really know about it unless they've been following city government? It hasn't been in the news at all.
I'll say no. I'll say no, it's not a big deal. And the reason being, it was a concentrated effort to look at the entire city and where there's been areas that, questioned why haven't these been developed? And we're seeking answers on those and what possibly could be done there to change things to encourage the development that we would want. That's the purpose of that. But all that land is, any piece of property in the city is open to development, and anybody could come up with any kind of idea. What the purpose of this committee was to try to lay some groundwork to make sure that we had a vision of what was optimal, as opposed to just who's next with an idea. So this actually kind of helped form the threat that always is looming, and that's what development could show up. So that's how I'm interpreting it. There's no mad dash that I've been that I've felt that we have to make these changes, we have to get this land developed. That's being interpreted that way by some, and that's not how I'm reading it. I'm reading it as, let's make sure that the land that isn't developed, that's got a target on it, gets developed the right way, and change the land use and zoning to make sure that it does, as opposed to where there's devils in the details on how something could get developed in a way we don't want it to be. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I don't see this as, contrary to how some people are taking it, I don't see this exercise as being the city hell-bent on developing the city. I see it as a city making sure that where there is development potential, that we foster the right types of development, and I'll leave it at that. So
I know we've languished for a while,
yeah,
meaning decade, maybe decade and a half. We did not have that kind of development, particularly these last 8 years. So I think we're trying to play catch up with that. And as a result, when we said we want to try to finish this whole process of rezoning, of changing land use, and then at the same meeting change the zoning, all before August, it does seem like a big deal. We're setting up the ground rules.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes in and meets exactly what the zoning allows, there's, as I think everybody should know, it's allowable. We're just setting up the rules right now, and it's going to happen quietly without people knowing. You know, we're talking about big changes, agricultural changes, as well as on the far northeast side that'll allow for the industrial growth, as well as the multitude of things that are planned for the Bark River and the Highway 83 development up there. So I think it is a big deal. And I think making sure that we know and we communicate to the public when public hearings will be, and just provide public informational meetings. I appreciate the two of you guys having a meeting. I guess 2 weeks ago I was informed about a public information that two of you had. And that was one of my concerns, is because I think there was information disseminated there that I didn't even have. You were having, yeah, there was. You were having John from Hendricks talking to people in this community, and he hasn't been here.
This isn't really actually something that's on the agenda to talk about. I mean, but I would say that's an incorrect interpretation of what went down.
Okay.
It was, like I referenced it vaguely, but it was really a process meeting. I was asked to help address my experience on the Plan Commission, and when people should be not worried, but when they should be like, where's the call to action? Because they're reaching out to find out what's the plan. It's like, well, there is no plan. Well, when am I supposed to react to a plan when a plan comes? Like, well, when a plan comes, then you have this amount of time to do it. But issue feedback, make it known what you think is acceptable and what isn't. And this is all. It was a very good meeting. I think the city, you've got some things built into your suggestions here, which mandate those, but
which is why I brought it up.
But
so
yeah,
to keep it germane, yeah.
So that, on that point, one of the items is it's great. All developers are encouraged to have public meetings, which is one of your public informational meetings. It's to their detriment when they don't. Right. If they think it's semi-controversial, when they aren't knocking on doors, they get sent out on a rail. I mean, when it's happened, I've seen it happen a lot, and so it's a good idea. I wouldn't go beyond encouraging them, because like requiring one for, if someone wants to put in a deck and a swimming pool, that's $25,000. You're going to have a meeting, a public informational meeting before you, in advance of your application. No, I'm just saying there's some. Yeah. All these things should be. The onus is on the developer to make a change palatable. But I like your 500-foot one. I think that's great. I'm not the final say. I'll just go through it since I've been talking. But I love the 500-foot instead of 300 feet. I think, and that's still not a lot.
No.
As far as some of the other extending timelines and breaking these things apart, you could have really detrimental impact on somebody doing some rather simple updates. You might add 90 days to somebody's office expansion with some of these, and there wouldn't be any reason to do that. So I'd be leery of adding extra meetings or extra time on some of these. But I like I'll leave it at that. I like the extra distance involved, and just a strong emphasis on getting the word out as far as how you do that with policy changes for not really in the code, but policy changes for what we need to do on our website and getting more information out there. I like those things, but so.
Maybe we can wrap this up. Tom, did you have any comments?
The only thing I just want to mention is two things. First of all, before making any changes, I would recommend that the council seek input from our city planner and our city attorney on any potential changes. And then the other thing I just want to mention is just pure coincidence. We did have a reporter come into City Hall today asking questions about saying he wanted to do a story on two things. One was the expansion of the Legion building, and two was the City of Delafield
That's the
focus
guy I was
group
talking
and
to during the
economic
recount.
development activities.
What was the second one? I'm sorry. You
The focus group and economic development recommendations. And I pointed them in the direction of Amy Barrows for further questions and answers. So maybe we will see a
Gold star for that reporter.
timeliness.
He's the only one that's sat through 3.5 hours
Yeah.
of flipping
During
through
During the recount, and Phil overheard me, he was saying what's going on in the city of Delafield, and I was rattling off a long list of things. I had no idea what he would bite on or wouldn't bite on, right? So,
Well, thank you for considering anything on the list.
sounds good. All right. So I think now number 10, mayor's report, no report. 11C, discussion possible action regarding an intermunicipal agreement between the city of Delafield and the village of Summit regarding repairs on Mill Road, C Drive, and County B, action to be contingent upon city attorney review and approval. Tom.
Yeah, so this is the formal agreement that we've worked out with the Village of Summit. It does split costs right down the center of the road. You'll see that the city is responsible for a very small, larger percentage of the cost, and that's due to the fact that the side roads that come off of Mill Road are all on our side of the road. We get 20, 30 feet into each of those side roads, so that's the reason for that. And so I would recommend approval, and as the agenda says, making that contingent upon the city attorney reviewing for form.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay, we'll move on to 11D, discussion possible action as requested by Alderperson Kaysen regarding proposed ordinance 792, an ordinance to amend section 34-22 of the City of Delafield Municipal Code to regulate the noise associated with the emptying of garbage dumpsters. Phil?
We were asked about 6-8 months ago to consider something like this, and it didn't dawn on me until a few months later. I'm hearing this from my house. I thought it was construction equipment. I was wondering what was going on at 5:30, 5:15 in the morning, and I didn't make anything of it. I just went on. But every time that I've heard that, now that we've had this request, I just felt a need had to come up to address this. I believe, I don't recall who all got it, but I got a letter today just thanking from District 1, somebody lives up near the square.
Restock.
Yeah, Restock. Because he's been anxious about this ever since they went in. I know people near Fishbones have been anxious about this. And
I've gotten many calls. I've made a lot of calls to the garbage people about the beep, beep, beep.
And what Tom has put in here is what a lot of, I just asked Tom to check it out and see what other places have. And it's not that uncommon to have this kind of a thing. Just restricting the hours of when these kind of excessive noises can be made with these dumpsters because they are loud. So
That was my first question, if you don't mind.
What?
That was my first question, if you don't mind. Are there other municipalities that have similar rules?
So I did reach out to, through our administrators network, and unfortunately, I had the request out there for 3 weeks and got no responses back. However, I was talking to our area manager for GFL, Green for Life, who they service a lot of the dumpsters in the city of Delafield, and I asked him about it, and he said that there are a significant number of municipalities that do have such ordinances, and he indicated that he felt bad and that that typically that we would just have to reach out to them and that they can work something out. We have reached out to them in the past, I told him, and I told him oftentimes it gets better for about 2 or 3 weeks and then returns to the same old, same old. But he said that if there is an ordinance in place, they definitely comply with it. They don't want to receive citations from cities. But the one comment that he had was, I asked him what time most municipalities do, and he said most do 6 a.m. And 7 a.m. is the latest that any municipalities have had. And then, so when I was talking to Phil last week, I asked him what he wanted me to propose in the proposed ordinance, and he asked me to put 7 a.m. in there.
What you've described, Tom, is exactly what happened to me. I've called and they told me that the drivers often make their own routes and they can make the adjustments to where they're going.
Right.
Yeah, so.
I'm just talking out loud, we have a lot of businesses that rely on this garbage pickup, and just have to balance between what we want for neighbors, but those businesses still need to get their garbage picked up. If I'm not saying what's too restrictive, but if we made something too restrictive and then the dumpsters are overflowing, we've traded one problem for another, right?
Yeah.
So
We're not saying don't come, we're just saying don't come at 3 in the morning.
And also, I'll just mention that the gentleman I talked to from GFL mentioned that most of the drivers are trying to get their routes done before peak rush hour traffic, and that creates a lot of problems getting in and out of parking lots and things like that once the rush hour picks up. But it would seem to me like, well, 7 a.m. becomes kind of challenging. You got a little bit of time left after 7 a.m. to get into some of those before they start getting full.
Oh, you mean because the parking lots are full and they're filling up with the workers? Oh, I see.
I used to live across from where Fishbones was, and they were dutifully there between 5 and 5:30, and drove me nuts.
Yeah, Fishbones would be easy to pick up at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. Office buildings, not so much.
But I guess if I were, I would make a motion on this ordinance, but I would make it 6 a.m.
So is that a motion?
It's a motion.
6 a.m. to
8 p.m. to 6 a.m.?
Yes.
I'll second.
discussion?
I was going to actually suggest attacking this from individual business plans of operation, but that's probably untenable because a lot of places may not have them documented in a way where we talk about garbage pickup, or is that not true? I mean, there's a lot of businesses that, may not have them.
I don't recollect hours of garbage pickup typically being in our business plans of operation.
I know, the Heritage at Village Square has there's something in there for their garbage pickup, but it sounds like they might not even be abiding by it if Bill Rustack is on the phone.
He didn't give any specific examples. He was just talking in general, being in favor of having rules around deliveries and not annoying neighbors, but he didn't really, I don't recall any specifics in the email.
I think before 6 a.m. It's unreasonable for citizens to have to listen to that.
Yep.
And so I have no problem with it. I think 7 could hamper services.
And this gets a little off topic, but the other complaint that we get is snow plowing operations in parking lot, and we get a lot of them from Village Square that they're doing the snow plowing operations at 5 or 6 in the morning, and there's the backup alarms, and people ask us to have them disconnect the backup alarms, which isn't allowable. It's a safety device, and there's liability associated with that. And so,
That's different. That's weather related. We can't control that. They're going to clear the roads when the snow is falling.
This is one step in the right direction, but there's other concerns out there as well.
Sure.
So I have a question, Jackie. Maybe you can be helpful, because we do. Do we have a second?
We have a motion and a second.
Oh, we do.
Decided we're going to.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No, it was a second. Yeah. Okay. You've been warned. So. No, the reason I brought up the BPO business plan of operations is because we'd be chasing a lot of different things, and in a blanket ordinance that hits it at 6, we'll attack the bulk of the issues, and we'll have a hard line that's just across the city as opposed to building to building. So I think it's reasonable.
I do too.
Is it possible to build in that there could be exceptions if, like, is that something that it would be a hard line that can never be?
I think
In
we
certain
passed the ordinance. and
If you do it
hear-
quietly,
Well, no, I just mean like if there's certain situations where it's causing it a burden on a particular business or whatever, and they need an exception to that, that isn't opposed. Is there a way to go about?
Then they'll have to come here and ask. I mean, I think we should try it for simplicity.
I mean, technically, Jim, unless your ordinance provides some kind of an exception procedure, not even the council's allowed to give an exception without changing the ordinance.
I mean, it's something that's going to apply to the movie theater, and I mean, it's going to be it's citywide, so there's going to be we'll have some issues, I think, but we'll have to we'll have to figure out if it works.
Well, and when you bring up the movie theater, I think that's relatively geographically isolated where you can't see a whole lot of people complaining if there's a 545 left.
The town of Delafield's next door. It's a subdivision. They
Well, that's
all
the town.
they all came in when that theater was proposed and saying we were going to have all this noise. And I argued probably not.
Well, my point is that it's only a violation of the ordinance if somebody calls the police. Then
No, it's a violation of the ordinance
Well,
if they do it.
you know what I'm saying.
They only get in trouble if, yeah.
All right.
It's like speed limits, though. Come on.
I think it's good. I think it's a good measure.
I just would like to see a process for an exception if the movie theater was, wanted to have an exception to that or something. What would the process be for that?
Like language in the ordinance saying that,
I would suggest that if it becomes an issue, you then amend the ordinance, tailor it. That's what I'd leave it.
I think 12 hours a day is enough time for people to pick up their garbage. Come on. It's a small town.
call the question.
All right.
Question.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay. All right, 11E, approval of vouchers payable report, reporting dates of 3/15/2022 to 4/18/2022 in the amount of $306,248.53 for accounts payable and $151,890.65 for payroll.
Move to approve the voucher list.
Second.
Matt got the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay, report of city administrators, 12A.
Yep, we'll make this real quick. First of all, I just want to call your attention to a document in the packet regarding the volunteer group called Plugging Along the Bark River, organized by Mary Daniel. This is a group that has taken on the task of maintaining the plantings along the Bark River for the Bark River Restoration Project that the city of Delafield invested in. And the meeting dates are identified in the document in the packet. And the first meeting is this coming Saturday, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Meet at the bridge by the post office, and it is rain or shine. Or snow. Snow or ice. Number two, the dam repair that has been complete. Unfortunately, it did take them the full 3 days. We were hoping to save a little bit of money if they could get done in 2 days, but they encountered significantly more sedimentation at the base of the dam that needed to be tended with. But that got done, and hopefully our dam should be set for another 20 years or so. And third item, we do have a new cleaning service in place, Vanguard Cleaning Service. They are going to be taking on Public Works, City Hall, and the library and the fish hatchery. And a little bit of a surprise, just as we were about to award a contract, the old cleaning service, Clean Line,
Are you kidding me?
came back and said that they would be willing to still do the public safety building, the police and fire accommodations. But they did significantly increase their prices as well, not as much as what we'll be seeing from Vanguard. But we've gotten through it all. We did have about a week and a half where we were without a cleaning service, and I want to thank all the city employees who chipped in to make it work. So far, really good results from Vanguard and what I'm seeing them do as far as the level of effort that they're putting in the cleaning. So that's been a positive.
What was their first day,
Their first day was
roughly?
a week and a half ago, Wednesday.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. And one last thing is just a reminder that we do have the organizational meeting for the coming council tomorrow evening, and that is 5:30. So different starting time, 5:30. Note that, and that is in this room.
All right, we'll move on to B, City Clerk. Summary of election and recount.
Yeah, I grabbed this other microphone because the other one is getting feedback. So the election, we had a 39% voter turnout, which is higher than normal for the spring election. I think the big issue that everybody is aware of is that we ended up in District 6 with a tie vote. Rare. It's my first election organizing it completely on my own, and obviously my first recount. There are folks who have been in the business for several decades and they've never had to deal with not a recount, a tie vote, and they've never had to deal with the tie vote. So we did reconvene the Municipal Board of Canvassers on April 7th, where we drew lots per the statutes, and the lot draw resulted in a tiebreaker vote cast on behalf of Paul Price for the District 6 seat. At that point, Phil Casson did request the recount, which we conducted here on April 13th. It was brought up earlier that there was a discrepancy in the number of votes cast for the district. And just to clarify, the number of folks that registered in the poll books was 364. There were only 363 votes, and that's specific to that district, so there were only 363 votes cast in that district. We reviewed the poll book just to make sure that there wasn't a discrepancy in the poll book. The poll book totals were still the same, so we had 270 folks that came in the poll book. 74 voted absentee. 16 were election day registrations, which totaled 364 votes. We verified all of the absentee applications, all of the absentee certificates. There was one ballot that had been rejected at the polls because the voter certification was not complete. The determination on that particular ballot was that the voter was given the opportunity to fix their ballot. They did not do so, and therefore the Municipal Board of Canvassers agreed that it should not be accepted under circumstances wherein there wasn't a tie vote. I don't think that we even would have questioned the particular situation. The clerk's office did their due diligence. The clerk's office spoke to the voter. The voter said they were going to fix their ballot. The voter never showed up to do so. Let's see what else is in here. At the end of the day, the final tally was completed. It was determined that Phil Casson received 172 votes. Paul Price received 172 votes. There were 17 no votes, 1 write-in for Pedro and 1 write-in for Nicholas Martin Brown. The discrepancy in the votes, it is unfortunate. Just to summarize for anybody who isn't aware of how these elections run in our city, we have 3 school districts, 4 technically, because Lake Country kind of operates as its own school district. For this election, we had fewer ballots than normal. We've had up to 11 or more. We've run out of colors here. This election had 9 different ballots. We have a 13-hour day, and that's just the actual date, the hours that the polls are open. And we have folks that assist with the elections 4 times a year. The goal for every election is that we do not have any mistakes, but there is always human error in that. There were 3 ballots that crossed the, just overall crossed the district line. So we have 2 reporting units, and each reporting unit operates as its own location. So we had 3 that, crossed the reporting unit line, and then the one that we discovered as part of the recount vote here. But with a handful of ballots, the actual error percentage is under a percentage. It's like 0.02% or something like that. So I understand that it's tough to sleep at night knowing that there was a mistake in this district. Do we expect there to be a perfect election? I mean, we would hope so, but again, we have humans running the election, and there's room for human error, and as much as we try to eliminate that error, it still happens. We have Badger books coming they were supposed to be here for this election. They were not. We're hopeful that we'll have them in mid-summer and have them ready for the partisan primary, and those are, hopefully will help with some of the errors that can happen due to human error. And we'll have to reevaluate next spring. I do encourage those people who, question how this mistake could happen to participate in any election as a poll worker, but specifically a spring election here in the city of Delafield, to see how hard the poll workers work. And, we have training for them, and we have discussions, and we try to, like I said, eliminate as many errors as possible, but we can't account for everything always. So we don't actually know what specifically the error is, but in this particular case, with all of the ballot colors, the assumption would be that the ballot color issued to that one person was wrong. But I also think it's important to note that there were 17 no votes, 1 write-in for Pedro and 1 write-in for Nicholas Brown. So out of those 19 other votes, those people equally could have swayed the vote and chose not to. And then on top of that, you consider we had a 40% voter turnout. If we had more people voting, then there would be additionally more people that could have swayed the vote. So as the city clerk, I always take responsibility for any mistakes in an election, and I will fully support our election workers and the hard work that they do all day long. And I'm there too, and it gets to be a long day. So that's it for the recount. Did anybody have any questions about the election itself, or the recount process, or the tiebreaker process, or any other situation regarding the election?
Well, I'd just like to say you and your team did a great job.
Thank you.
Very trying and challenging election, and you guys performed admirably. And I have a point of order. The door has to stay open for a public meeting.
They were vacuuming the stuff.
Nope. I hope they're done.
All the way open, or
Just one is open, is fine. Just one. Thank you.
I don't think anybody is questioning, and I'm sure not questioning anybody's work ethic at all. My concern is that and I'm not sure I still understand, there were 363 votes counted when the canvassers came through and recounted it, but there were registered 364. Is that what I'm understanding?
So the tabulators that evening when the ballots were run through, counted 363 ballots that were run through that had a race for District 6.
Okay.
When we double check the poll book, so somebody comes in, they go to the
And
poll
they
book, they
sign,
check
yeah.
in, they get their voter number, they get their ballot color. In the poll book, that tells what ballot color they're supposed to have. Then they get that ticket, then they go to the ballot table, then they get the corresponding ballot, they go vote it, they put it in the machine. So our guess is that that person came in, checked in, and either at the poll book table or at the ballot table was given the wrong color indicator for their ballot.
Okay.
We cannot be sure because we don't know who it was.
Right.
There's no way to tell who it
Right,
was.
there are no names on the ballots.
Right. So that person would have then had to get a ballot that was not within District 6, and then voted outside of the district in another race, and then ultimately could have affected the turnout in another race.
So we talk about the things that we try to do to make sure that we've got complete accuracy as much as possible. But I just want to throw out that one opportunity to make sure we're doing everything correctly is for the voter to know who's supposed to be on their ballot and what races they're supposed to be voting in. And if this voter would have known that he or she is supposed to be voting in the Casson-Price race and recognized it, could have turned the ballot back and said, I got the wrong ballot and gotten the wrong ballot.
I understand it.
And
There
I
are
don't mean
people
to place-
there helping, I just think when it's a tie, that one vote is such a kicker because it makes a dramatic difference in
Right.
what happens. Most of the time, if there's a 20-vote margin, even that small, one vote one way or another doesn't matter. I just think it's also wholly ironic because I've been listening to a lot of complaining about a much bigger vote margin on a different level and about how important it is to be accurate. And so, that I just want to make sure that maybe the color, one of the things I heard is that there was like two colors, one pink and one kind of pinky, and that might have been just that simple, a long day. But again, everybody works very hard, and I know a lot of the people personally, and it's a tradition in my family that a lot of folks work the polls, so it's not questioning that at all.
So the ballot colors are provided to us by the county, and they give us two potential options. And one, the ballot colors are much more distinct. It's dependent upon the paper we receive. The second one, the colors are much less distinct. I myself, when I was first getting through the ballots and sorting through them, mistook one color for another. So we did, we labeled the particular folders that they were in. The poll workers had, tags, the color tag on that folder matching it. So, again, we took as many steps as we thoughtfully could to try to eliminate error.
So question, did the total number of ballots issued equal the total number of votes counted for the entire city?
Yes.
Okay.
We had 2,000.
So this isn't someone who got a ballot and walked out?
No, we
Okay.
had initially at like my cursory review when we closed out the election, I was super excited because everything was spot on. We had 2,070 voters that were in the poll books, the numbers, and then 2,070 ballots that were run through the machines. But after the election is over, we go through and the clerk's office takes additional steps to close out the election, and that's where we usually find the occasional mistake or mishap, and we do our best to try to figure out what happened and, again, eliminate it for the next time. Unfortunately, because of the anonymity in elections, we can't go back and fix ballots once they've been cast. So.
Thank you. It's a tedious, long, job, and I think you are exemplary. So I don't ever want anyone to think that anyone here thinks otherwise.
Alrighty. Thank you for all the hard work, Molly. All right, we will move on to, let's see here. City clerk, update regarding public hearing notice on city website.
So for this particular item, I did have an opportunity briefly today to set up another section of the notify me in the news flash specific to public hearing notices. So as part of our process going forward, we will be pushing out a push notification that links to the public hearing section on the website. I am still kind of trying to determine if it would be best to keep the organization of the public hearing and public notices web page that I started a while ago the same, or if we better to completely replace that section with this new section, just because I do my best to not have things in 4 different places, because the more times that you have to update something or put something on the website, the more opportunity there is for us to make a mistake and miss it, and then, you know, ultimately, if the notification's not where it's supposed to be, then we have to postpone or delay a meeting. So I did send out a push notification on the current city news subscription list, asking people to sign up for this particular list. That subscription list is, I think, just over 200 people. So then the recommendation would be for, you know, you as alder people to get the information out that that page exists and that opportunity exists for folks to sign up for those specific notices. Now, I will be doing all of the public notices that don't have an agenda attached to it there. Otherwise, all of the agendas and all those notices come out as a push notification specific to those meetings. So this will be, you know, any notices that don't have a meeting attached to them, plus the public hearings, which are in addition to the meetings usually. So that's where we're at.
Okay, any questions? All right, we'll move on. C, City Treasurer. Refer you to the packet for the March 2022 Treasurer's Report. And D, council requests for future agenda items. Tim?
How about for our May 16th meeting, we just review our city code for roles and conduct of the different participants in our city council meetings?
And I'll just add, I don't know that it's actually it should maybe be just brought up, is to see if we can post back up the link to the Economic Development Council site. It's a live site, you can go to it, but just put it back up on our city's website.
That'll get done.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Not really an agenda item.
Okay, then I will refer you to the correspondence in the packet and then move into number 14, closed session. Motion to convene in closed session pursuant to provision of Wisconsin State Statute 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. More specifically, regarding the retirement benefit compensation for one of the public works foremen. Council will reconvene in open session after completion of the closed session to consider the balance of the agenda. Is there a motion to convene into closed session?
Also move.
I'll second.
Not a roll call vote?
Henry?
Aye.
Barron?
Aye.
Valdy?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Grimmer?
Aye.
Casson?
Aye.
Iker?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to go into closed session. We'll discuss this topic and then we'll come back to make a motion in open session on the decision, but there is nothing else on the agenda. Immediately following that, we will adjourn.
Mike's back on if you turn them off.
Okay, we are back live and in color. We're on to B, motion to reconvene into open session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
That motion was made to reconvene at 9:11 p.m. Okay, roll call. Okay, so we need a motion. A roll call vote to come into open session. Henry.
Aye.
Barron.
Aye.
Valdi.
Yep.
Dean.
Aye.
Grimmer.
Aye.
Gason.
Aye.
Iker.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. C, discussion and possible action regarding the retirement benefit compensation for one of the Public Works foremen. Looking for a motion by Alderperson number 1, second by Alderperson number 2.
That's what's going to happen.
I'll leave.
Okay. I move that we, how do you want me to say that? That we accept the, how many hours is it?
It's 1,200 hours.
1,200 hours of sick time, understanding that any subsequent retirement offers will not exceed the 960-hour limit.
So just to clarify, so that we are compensating Mike O'Brien with 1,200 hours of sick leave, post-retirement health insurance bank.
Yes.
I'll
That is
second
my
that.
motion.
Post-retirement, what was the last couple words?
Health
Bank?
insurance bank.
I'll second that motion.
Phil beat you. I think Phil beat
Okay, so Jackie made it, and
Yep.
Phil,
Yeah.
I think you were the
Oh,
second, right?
correct, Phil.
Can't hear him. He's sneaky, that one.
Okay.
I can't hear.
Okay, so that's not a roll call vote, that's a regular vote, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Post.
Abstentions? Passes.
Thank you for all your years of service. Good grief.
Seeing no further business, we are now adjourned at 9:13. Thank you, everyone.